Hey everyone, it's Aaron from Inhabiting Stories. Today I want to go over my June recap and then my July TBR. We'll just knock those two out in one video. I don't know how much time I'm going to have in the next week to make another one, so we'll do that. Before I start all the book talk, I just want to let you guys know I posted my first video, I think barely a week ago, and I've just had so much love and support from everyone in the book community, and it's just been great hearing from everyone, and whether it's on Discord or just on YouTube. It's just funny because it's something that was so terrifying to post your first video because you just don't know how it's going to go. And everyone was just awesome. And so I just want to say thanks for your support and thanks for at least giving my first video a shot. So I appreciate it. So in June, I read 9 books, 3 were audiobooks. I'll just knock out the audiobooks first just so because I don't have them physically. But I read or listened to The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. That was my first Scott Hawkins book. And it was very interesting. The guy was great at dialogue, and the plot was insane. It's about these orphans, and they're adopted by this guy called Father, and they have these supernatural abilities, and they're essentially looking for Father. He goes missing, and a lot of stuff happens. It was one of the weirdest books I've read in a long time. It was very good. There's a few things that I just wasn't a fan of, so I don't know if I'd suggest it often, but I definitely would read more from him. So that was my first audiobook. Second was Dogs of War by Tchaikovsky. I've read a decent amount of Tchaikovsky. I think, where is it at? I don't know if you can see this. All this here is the Shadows of the App series, which we'll talk about that later. Anyways, I've read a lot of Tchaikovsky stuff. Dogs of War may have been one of my favorite things. It was very unique, very different. Basically, bioengineered animals, and they are created for war and to obey. And we follow this character named Rex, and it just explores themes of obedience and authority and morality, freedom, your conscience. And it's actually, there's some themes in there that I've just dealt with in my personal life that made me really think a lot about the choices that I make and why do I make them, and is it out of trust, is it strictly based off fear? But anyways, that was a very good first book. I'll definitely keep listening to the rest. I like to listen, and then if I really enjoy the book, I will purchase it physically. So that was I'm so very excited to continue that. I think he has one more is out, and then the third one is coming out in September, I believe. And then the last audiobook was another Tchaikovsky called Made Things. And it was a novella. It was about a thief, and she can create these magical puppets, and it was very fairy tale-esque. I like the characters a lot. I feel like I was expecting more. I suppose he could have done a lot more with the characters because they were just so interesting, and I thought the world was really cool. So Tchaikovsky is almost every book I've read from him has been at least a 3.5 or so. I've never read one where I've just totally hated it. So that one wasn't my favorite. I realized I haven't been telling you my ratings for any of those, but it's fine. They were all at least a 3. Dogs of War was probably a 4. But Made Things, that was my last one. So interesting, but wasn't my favorite. All right. I'll try not to make this terribly long. The rest of my recap for, where is it at? For June. I read, here we go. Songs of Innocence and Experience by William Blake. It's just a little book of poetry. I like to try to end my evenings reading a poem or two just because it's nice. It gets me, try to calm my mind down at the end of the night. It gives me something to reflect on. But he was a English poet and a painter in the Romantic period. I enjoyed that. I'm not even going to give you my ratings for all these unless it was wonderful or else I really didn't like it because I just forget. I didn't write them down. So anyways, William Blake was really good. Second was King's Blood by Daniel Abraham. This is book 2 in the Dagger and the Coin series. I discovered Abraham, read the first book last year, and you never want to read one book of an author and say it's not your favorite author or one of your favorites, but he does character work just wonderfully. I love his imagery he uses with nature and with just, I don't know, I love the way he writes. His prose is really good. The dialogue is really good. His characterization is great. You know who's speaking just by the way he writes out the sentence. I loved it, so I'm going to continue with the series for sure. I'm reading book 3. Well, that's whatever. That's my July TBR. But yes, King's Blood by Daniel Abraham, book 2, the Dagger and Coin series. It was very good. And then I read the Iliad by Homer. That was my first time reading it. And yes, I did the whole, the movie's coming out, so I got to read Iliad and Odyssey. I've never read them before. I'm just getting into classics. Iliad was great. It was a lot of war and a lot of fighting, and I'm glad I read it. I will say I usually skim fight scenes and battle scenes in my books. And if I would have done that, I would have skimmed the entire thing. So I didn't do that. I actually tried to read it, but it was still really good. The general story was good. Achilles was awesome. There was really cool. I loved the Greek gods and just reading, how they viewed the gods and how they intervened with the humans and their relationship there. That was really cool. So it was very solid. I'll definitely read it again in the future. Then I read another Tchaikovsky, The Air War. This is book 8. 8, 9. Yeah, this is book 8, I believe, in the Shadows of the App series. So I'm almost done. There's 10 books in that series. Another solid entry. That was another book that was, I can't say too much, but it's Tchaikovsky's mainly fantasy series. I guess it's like steampunkish. I don't know for sure all the different genres within fantasy, but it's like these humanoids, or these humans, I guess they're a human race, but they've somehow evolved, I believe, to develop these insect abilities, if you want to say it like that. And there's the beetle kindin and the moth kindin and the dragonfly kindin, and it's fascinating. I love, this has been my favorite Tchaikovsky read, is this series. And the Wasp Empire are the bad guys, and they're just trying to take over everything. So you see there's a lot of war, a lot of fighting, a lot of political stuff. I have 2 more books left, and I'll be done with the series. Forgive my stumbling over my words. I'm trying not to make this extremely long, but I'm also trying not to talk very fast. So those two are not working well together so far for me. Anyways, Blackflame by Wight. This is book 3. Yep, that's 3. Sorry, looking back at my bookshelf there. That's book 3, and it's progression fantasy. I think most people have heard of the Cradle series. It's been really fun, really easy reads. I don't even know there's something, I am really a fan of beautiful prose and just the art of crafting a really well constructed sentence. Dwight Schrute. This does not have that necessarily, but it's just the action is so fun. The action's fun. It's easy. I hate to say palate cleanser, but it kind of is. There's just something about the progressing from point A to point B to point C is just interesting. And maybe I'll get a few books in and I'm not gonna enjoy it. I bought the whole series. I don't know why I did that a while ago. I don't do that anymore because that's just not smart. So hopefully I end up liking it, but so far it's really good. And then the last one I read for June, it's called None Greater, The Undomesticated Attributes of God. I have a lot of books about the attributes of God, at least the Christian conception of God in the West. And that book was fine. I'll probably end up unhauling that one. I have much better ones. So that's all my June TBR. So it was a pretty solid month. It was good. I didn't read any hits, but I read some good stuff. Nothing I was upset about. The King's Blood by Abraham was probably my favorite thing of June. So let's go on to my July TBR here. Sorry, rearranging stuff. So this is going to be my July. I'll probably go into August too, but my poetry book for the month of July, Christina Rossetti. She was a 19th century English poet, and she's famous for the Goblin Market and stuff like that. But so far, I'm really enjoying this. I already started it, but really enjoying this much more than Blake's stuff. But again, we'll see what ends up happening with that. But I love anything with nature, imagery, or symbolism, and so far she's just chock full of that. So it's really beautiful writing. Next is, so this has been so far one of my favorite. Again, can't say going to be your favorite author if you've only read a few books, I guess. But so far, I'm reading Janny Wurts. I feel like she's getting a lot of love on BookTube recently. But I'm on Warhost of Vastmark, which I guess is book 3 or part 2 of book 2. Her, again, I'm not. I don't think I'm a pro snob. I don't think I understand enough to say I'm that. But I just really love beautiful wording. And when, yes, you can have beautiful writing and make a terrible story, but she does both extremely well. I love the characters. Arathon might be a top favorite fantasy character at some point when I'm finished. There's just nothing I've disliked about this story so far. So you have to take your time and slow down, but what's wrong with that? I don't want to speed read every single thing ever. So that's just really great. That's going to be up for July, hopefully, as long as I can make it. It's kind of a lot going on in July, and I'm also going out of town at the end of the month, so I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Book 9 in the Shadows of the Apt, it's War Master's Gate. I'm a little bit nervous about what's going on. There's a lot of characters. He has to wrap up a lot of significant character arcs, so I'm hoping he pulls through. And I will say he introduced a major as antagonist or force or kindin towards, I think it was book 7 or 8, and that was very interesting, very cool. So I'm hoping, however that turns out, it is worth it at the end. And then I'm going to read John Muir. I don't know if you see Muir or Muir Wilderness Essays. First of all, I love this cover. I'm a sucker for a good cover. But he was a Scottish American naturalist and advocated a lot for the U.S. wilderness and not destroying it. We're going to, my wife and my children are going to, and myself, we're all going to Jackson Hole, Missouri at the end of the month. And I love going to the mountains. It's my favorite place to be. So I'm just excited to bring this along and hopefully just help me enhance my experience of the wildlife there. And then I'm reading Skysworn This is book 4 in Cradle. There's a lot of, what is it called? Why can't I think? Where you're just training montages. There it is. And they're not my favorite, which again, it's just really weird that I'm enjoying this so much, because for someone who isn't a huge fan of battles and fight scenes, and I don't like training montages that much, that's a lot. The last book was a lot of that. But there's a few characters that are just really pulling at me, and if you give me one really good character, I can probably put up with a few other things that I'm not totally loving. So we'll see how Volume 4 goes. It's going decent so far, so I'm excited about that. And then we're doing, of course, like I said, the whole bandwagon thing, doing the Odyssey. I already started. So far, I'm already really liking it more than the Iliad. Really enjoying it more than the Iliad. Also, I'm sorry if this is moving around so much, as I've been moving these books around the video. That's unfortunate. Oh well. Anyways, Odyssey, I feel like there's much more of a narrative structure, and there's obviously a story in the Iliad, but I've just been enjoying this or this story much more, with Odysseus and him just trying to get back home. It's been great. So hopefully that's I'll enjoy that in July. And then we got book 3. Yep, The Tyrant's Law by Daniel Abraham. Book 3 in Dagger and Corn. It's not The Dagger and the Corn. I probably wouldn't read that. Dagger and Coin. So that's, again, I'm so excited for that. I don't have really any misgivings about that. I think it's going to be great. I really want to get to Long Price Quartet. I know people have been talking about that for a few years. I'm trying not to rush through this so I can get to that, because I love this too. But yep, going to read Tyrant's Law. And then lastly, which I've already started to, I'm going to read Two Like the Lightning by Ada Palmer. I'm only 4 chapters in, and it's been really good. She is very smart, and I'm not catching all the references, and she's talking about things that are a little over my head, but I've been enjoying the stretching of my brain. I'm going to have to be really patient with myself with this one and go slow, but it's been really good so far. So that's my June wrap up and my July TBR. Just comment below and let me know if anything sounds good to you. I'm a sucker for buddy reads. I almost can't say no. If we can somehow figure out how to do a buddy read together, I'd love that. I also see people do this sometimes, those reading sprints. I would love to do that with people. I read every night, unless I'm out doing something, which I try not to be. If I'm out, if I'm reading a book. And so if I'm sitting there, I might as well read with some other people. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks.